We're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Hi, welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Drew Brown. We hope to inspire, entertain, and learn something so we can all make this world a better place for our children. I'd like to introduce to you somebody who's my friend, my wingman, my main man, and I have a wingman watching my back, Dr. Paul Thompson. Hey, Paul, what's happening?
Oh, not much. Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Thompson, and you just heard from Mr. Drew Brown, Dark Gable. He's the American dream. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the pilot's pilot, the role model's role model, and most importantly, his royal fullness. How are you doing today, Mr. Dark Gable?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad I'm full of knowledge, Paul. I'm glad I'm full of knowledge. Well, we're going to have a great show right now. Check this out. Dr. Paul, good morning, my brother. You look great. Great picture behind you.
Good morning. Great picture, Bo. Great picture behind you, too. Both of us, actually. I do like this picture behind me. It's a great one.
I just bought that $15.3 million Sugar Shack for $15.4.
Okay. Yeah, he needed the money after all. I'm glad he's able to get it. Cool.
Yeah, you look great. I hope people watch us on YouTube, because then you get to see all these pictures, and we put pictures up during the show, and Paul and I make funny faces sometimes. So I want to welcome all the new and old listeners. Thank you so much for listening to us, watching us. We do appreciate it. If you could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, we'd really like it. That'll make the show get bigger, actually. So we would appreciate that. And I want to give a shout out. How about this, Paul? My man Bradley, he's a ramp agent. He gave us a shout out.
Yeah, I heard about Bradley. People don't know what a ramp agent is. Maybe what's a ramp agent?
A ramp agent is somebody we dealt with every single day that we flew those big ass jets around the world. They took care of everything in that airplane.
Right. Yeah, that's basically it. They do a lot of stuff, either passenger or cargo. They're responsible for quite a few things on the ramp. What goes into the airplane, what comes off the airplane, monitoring things, maintenance, cargo.
They're the captain of the airplane until the captain takes responsibility. Actually.
Right. Yeah. They're in charge of everything. They're busy.
And I hope Bradley's watching us or goes to wingmenshow.com. That's our website. You can get all our episodes there.
Yes.
Well, anyway, Doc, you were over here for Memorial Day. And you brought us that $150 cake, but I did not expect it to look like this. So I'm going to put up a picture right now of this super bad cake that was delicious. Delicious. Did you have fun over here?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thanks for inviting us. Everybody came. My son, grandson, wife. We had a good time. Saw Drew Brown the Fourth, also known as officially his call sign is Drew Dini.
No, that would be Drew Brown the Fifth.
Oh, that's all right. The fourth made a fifth. Now I remember. Okay. Drew Brown the Fourth is a surgeon. The fifth is call sign Drew Dini.
Right. And the third is a badass jet pilot.
There you go.
No, I'm kidding. Yes. Everybody was here. Your family was here. Your son, your grandson, Grayson, man, what a dude. He's so cool. I can't believe he can speak Chinese and actually takes lessons. It's incredible. The advantage he's going to have. And we're going to talk about something that Cameron discusses with his son, and I guess he told you guys, it's about video gaming and what he thinks about it and how he regulates it. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But, during our party, my son and my daughter, which is my daughter-in-law, but I don't like that in-law stuff. Either you are or you're not. Anyway, you know what they are? They're assets. And I just thought about it. You have two kind of people in your lives. You have assets or you have liabilities. They go either way. There's no neutral. Either they add something or they're taking something away. And I think one of the things that can change our lives, how you take responsibility for yourself, is to get rid of your liabilities. It's like paying down your credit cards. Get rid of your credit cards.
Right,
have two credit cards, an American Express and a MasterCard or Visa. Period. That's it.
Right. You don't need a whole lot of them get in trouble. Yeah, in terms of people, yeah, you're right. And a lot of folks hang around with a lot of toxic people. They're toxic at any time. And that generally brings you down. Birds of a feather flock together. If you're trying to do a business thing or trying to move ahead educationally, and you're around people who are doing the opposite, you really need to get rid of. Well, sometimes you can't get rid of them. A lot of times they can be in your family. You can't just get rid of them. You can't. You can put them on standby, though.
Yeah, but you can remove yourself.
There you go. Move yourself. Do what you need to do. A lot of people get caught up into the social media. Look at all the people going crazy. Someone types something on a computer and the whole world falls apart. Their world falls apart. People are insulted. They're murdered. They're killed. Their parents are killed. Their kids are killed over brain dead. I shouldn't use that term. I should use the term brain dead nonsense that children and grown people who should know better are doing. Sometimes you just need to get rid of all that stuff. You just need to go.
You know what really has changed my life? You and I have grown up in an actual age that we really didn't do that big social media thing, which is very lucky. And so I'm talking now about not growing up with it. But I will tell you this, I'm not on it. I mean, I have a Facebook page, The Wingmen Show. We have Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. We have everything. We have, what is it called? IG. Yeah, Instagram.
Yes.
Right. So we're all over that. And thank God for Brandon, our main man, who takes care of all that. But me personally, I'm not watching the news so much. I'm not getting into social information so much. And this is why. This is my brain. This is my computer. And my computer can only process what it takes in. What if I control what it takes in? What if I don't hang around liabilities? You said liabilities in your family. Remove yourself. You have the power for you. I've done this, Dr. Paul. I blame everything on myself. Everything. You know why? I want the power back. If I blame it on you, I'm done. I can't do a dang thing. But if I blame it on me, there's something I can change.
That's true. You have a chance of improvement. If you blame something on everybody else, then you take yourself out of it and you basically stay the same. You just as jacked up as before. As far as the social media stuff, there's no really big time social media until we were both old enough to qualify for an AARP card. This is all recent stuff. So I can't really imagine being 6, 7 years old, 5, 6, 7, or 20 years old coming in with all this.
Oh my goodness, because it's normal now.
It's normal. I'm kind of pleased that, I barely know what to do a couple of things. I don't have a Twitter. I barely know what it is. And I think I'm okay. I can do email. You know
why the Wingman Show is on Twitter? You want to know why?
Because of Brandon.
No, because I used the N-word. I said
never.
I said never. When Twitter came out, I'm not kidding. I saw it in the news. I said, I am never going to be on Twitter. And so anytime I use the N-word, Shorty shows me I am not in charge. And so the Wingman Show is proudly on Twitter now. Okay. Elon Musk is buying or not buying, but we're on Twitter.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so let's talk about this really bad stuff. My son called me in a real kind of, not a panic, but Dad, did you hear this? And once again, these mass shootings are becoming like everyday occurrences now. And it's really sad. We talked about it during our meetings, and we're becoming numb to this. It's actually bouncing off of us. And that's not good. This is not good. So anyway, the Tulsa murders. And the history in Tulsa with the Black riots, and they killed all these very well-to-do Black people, a whole neighborhood they murdered. Yeah. But anyway, this was a Black spine surgeon like my son. His patient came back and killed him and 3 other people because of pain. Point being, he killed his surgeon. This Black surgeon was like a pillar in the community. He did so much for that town. And it's ironic that it was Tulsa, Oklahoma. But what's really happening is these 18-year-olds, these mentally unstable people are killing people. And the government is actually not doing anything. And let me tell you why. We don't talk about politics for a reason. First of all, everything you hear on TV is not necessarily true. So you're arguing ignorant points. That's number one. Unless you're in the room, you really don't know what they're saying. But number two, we are deadlocked because of 2 political parties Forget what they stand for. That's not the point. They will not vote for the right thing for the people. They will vote for their party so they can keep themselves in power. Now, I'm making this statement. The Constitution was written, but they didn't take into account these politicians who are insatiable for power and money. And they will do anything, including sell their souls at the crossroads for this power and money. And guess who they don't represent? And that's us. And guess who's to blame? Remember that blame? We are to blame because we voted them in. So I have to tell you this. We need to do something. They just had Gun Awareness Week. Are you joking? 80% of the people want background checks on mentally disturbed people, and you're having Gun Awareness Week, and you won't vote that in? All right, I'm getting fired up here, Dr. Paul. You got it.
Well, the thing in Tulsa, if I'm not mistaken, that happened, I think, on the anniversary, the date anyway, of the Tulsa Massacre. I think it was the same date, if that means anything. It's always the same date as some other day. That was in 1923. But that picture.
I don't want to interrupt you, but how come you and I didn't learn about that in school? You and I are both college-educated people, and I come from a Black university. Do you understand? I can't say it was Pittsburgh, University of Pitt.
Right. Well, they may not have known it either.
No, I know that.
Right.
I know that. That's
another example is you talk about everybody knows what Juneteenth is now. That's the thing. I didn't know what it was when I was in Texas. I spent time in Texas. In fact, I remember being around a number of guys, and they said, "This is Juneteenth. This is Juneteenth," and they were very, very quiet and very solemn. And I felt it was something that I'm supposed to know, but everybody seemed to know except me. But I didn't say anything. I just went along. Yeah, it's Juneteenth, but I have no. I'm trying. What is that? What could it be? And I would take a guess, and it didn't seem right. And this is an example of, like, if you don't know, you should really ask. I never asked. I never asked for years. This is in the 70s, and I didn't really learn what it was until probably maybe 5 years ago.
Do you know that's very, very, very representative of where we grew up? Yeah. All the language we learned in the streets?
Yeah.
You never asked anybody what homeboy meant when it first came out. You went along with it until you got it. We never really asked for descriptions of all the new coolest words.
True.
We did it until we learned, just like you did Juneteenth.
Because if you didn't know it, then you weren't cool.
That's right.
You just wait, and you just kind of, just get a feel for it. Intuitively, it'll come to you. Think
of how smart these kids really are, or we were, in order to do that, survive in the streets like that.
Yeah, yeah. And you just basically, you just kind of put on a face, and it'll come to me. And a lot of times it did come to me. Most of the time it did. But the Juneteenth, no, it took about 40 years. It's like, oh, that's it. Okay, liberation of slaves in the state of Texas. I didn't know that. I was in Texas. I was near the Mexican border, so I wasn't putting all this together. Again, it's not covered anywhere. Probably been covered in all of Texas.
Let's be honest about this. Black history is not Black history. It's history. Juneteenth is when they found out that they were free. Black people were free earlier than Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, yeah, that's just one.
That's when somebody told them they were free. Right. Think of how powerful the mind is. You are told you are free, and now you're free. Wow, that's pretty deep. Wingman Show. I think it's time for a Wingman Show. PSA. Success is waking up every day, doing what you love and doing it well. Success is waking up every day, doing something you love and doing it well. And if you do it well enough, you'll make money. That is a Wingman PSA.
Yes. Yeah, the guy, going back to the killings, you looked at the guy and they're zonked out. And again, this wasn't a teenager in Tulsa. He was, I think, 45 years old. So we're not going to just pick on teenagers or middle-aged people. Everybody's a little bit nuts.
This guy went in with a purpose, and I'm not making one good or one bad. This guy went in to kill a certain person. Right. These 18-year-olds went in to spray. They went to spray that AR.
That's the difference. That's a difference. What is consistent, though, is that this guy had a manifesto. Maybe it's for people 40 and under. I guess they want to be authors. Everybody writes a manifesto, maybe of 100, 150 pages. Yeah, he was nuts. You looked at him, but I wonder, you ever hear of MK Ultra?
No.
And this might be an excuse thing, but MK Ultra was about a 20-year program from 53 to 73 with the CIA. And the CIA used drugs and other means to try to manipulate the human mind, with a lot of experimentation on U.S. citizens and Canadian citizens too. And they started to adapt techniques from Nazi Germany. And they actually got Nazi scientists to teach them, different ways of hacking into the brain. They tried to do it mainly with LSD, different kinds of torture, sexual torture here and there, use people in the military. And it was a secret program, and it was uncovered in the 70s and supposedly stopped in 73. But it really had its roots really from World War II. From World War II through the Korean War, based on what happened to POWs in those wars and the effects that the Nazi control of their prisoners. And CIA wanted to learn how to do it too. So, it's easy to say, okay, they turn on a switch and folks are just going crazy. I don't know.
I don't see how that relates to these guys killing people.
Well, do you think they're?
I don't see a conspiracy in that.
Do you think there's a plan? The plan they can turn on a switch?
No plan. This is just human. This is human beings not taking care of other human beings.
I just don't.
In this country for a long time, and we haven't taken care of it. Guess what? We have a weather problem now. You think this weather problem is? We have climate change in the hood, and you know what that means? That means people are dying from the heat in India, in Pakistan, by the hundreds, Dr. Paul. So what I'm trying to say is that the things that we didn't take care of, we're getting the effects now. The things we're not taking care of now, we will get the effects later. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're paying for all the racist ignorance that we didn't teach anybody now. Now we're learning. Why those American history books didn't include the truth, I have no idea. That doesn't put us down when other people did something wrong. But if everybody knew the truth, maybe we'd be a lot better off. And maybe that's what this show is trying to do. We're trying to just bring a little bit of goodness and happiness to people. And how about the Queen celebrating 70 years Jubilee in England?
Well, congratulations to the Queen. I think the Queen got a special showing of Top Gun too.
Oh, baby.
So recently, yeah.
Showing like I did. I don't know if you want to go there yet. I was going to talk about the Queen. And,
okay, we can get to that.
God bless. I wish her the best. She's not feeling very well. She's feeling discomfort. And that was an excuse for missing a couple of events.
Yeah.
But you don't want to go to Top Gun yet, unless you want to, because the Queen didn't see it like I did.
Okay.
I went and saw Top Gun. And the coolest thing is you and I did everything they do. Everything they do, we did. But that's not the point. I saw it in 4D.
What is 4D? I never heard of that.
4D.
I had
water was spraying on me. The seat was moving. Air was shooting. Fireworks were going off in the theater. Smoke was coming down. Every time they were going through the water, whoosh, I get some water in my face. All of a sudden behind my ear, whoosh, air in my hair. The seat is freaking like a roller coaster. Every time they're moving, boom, bam, boom.
Oh, really?
It was a trip.
I just did IMAX. I thought that was great.
No, this is not even close to IMAX.
That's why your tickets cost double what mine did.
$60. Let's just say 60 with no popcorn.
Mine was 28.
And that's a senior citizen, and I'm a little bit older than my wife, so she had to pay regular. I'm a lot older, but
okay. Were there many people there? How many people were in the audience?
I say 35. It was a 3:40 showing on Friday afternoon.
Yeah. Okay. If you're gainfully employed, you probably,
weren't. Yeah, not on Friday. No, no, not in Atlanta. But my point is, these were $30 tickets.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good.
It was definitely 1,000% worth it. I would take Grayson if I were you.
Yeah, he went to see it. He and his dad went to see it. They went to see it. They saw it 2 days ago.
4D. 4D.
So go see it again.
Night and day. I'm telling you, it's something you have to experience.
Okay. I may do that.
And you know what's a trip about Top Gun? You know, I went to Top Gun school, but because we flew attack jets, and let me explain to people what the difference is. There are fighter jets, there are attack jets. Okay, so I came up with, when a fighter jet does his job in combat, he crosses out one name at a time. When Paul and I do our jobs, we rip out pages of the telephone book. There's no more telephone books, so it's not that funny anymore. But point being, fighter jets protect us. Fighter jets protect the ship. That's what they do. That's their job. Attack jets are the only reason they made aircraft carriers, so we could project force overseas. I know you're smiling, Paul.
That's interesting.
Fighter pilots that every day. Thanks for the support. But anyway, I went to Top Gun school. I think you did something like it also, but mine was called MATES, Medium Attack Training. Same thing as Top Gun, except that it had to do with fighting and bombing. And now the difference is this F-18 that they're flying, it does a little of both very well, but it doesn't carry 28 500-pound bombs like an A6 intruder.
Oh,
so there's my spiel.
Well, the whole thing about the tearing out the yellow pages, I never heard that's an interesting way.
I made that up, Doc.
That's good. That's good.
Cross out one, go in the phone book, cross out one name at a time. Thank you, fighter pilots. We go in the phone book, we rip out pages.
So basically you're saying you're more destructive, which
we're the only reason they make aircraft carriers. It's not even close. What do you make something to protect itself?
Well, actually, they're trying to do that too. But I'm glad you like Top Gun. I enjoyed it too.
I better not talk about it because I hate when people talk about movies. Yeah. I'm not trying to talk about the movie at all.
Yeah, I just like
you to go see it. Yeah. If you have the opportunity to do it in 4D, go do it.
Yes.
Go do it. All right, Top Gun. We really did that. We had adrenaline rushes like probably nobody will ever experience. Is that true?
That's true.
Some good and bad. But we really were in that roller coaster for real, where death was the consequence.
Yeah.
Now, today, and remember when we were young, and I am bringing up the past. I'm going to stop apologizing. Every day that the sun rose as kids, we were outside. Every single day. The only thing I can remember is, Mom, can I go out? Mom, can I go out? Mom, can I go out? Can I go out? Can I go out? So we were out every day.
Every day.
It has flipped around. These children are now actually addicted to video gaming. And the video gaming has become so realistic. It's crazy. And the things you can do in video gaming, people would not believe. Some of the video games are so violent with drugs and sex and murder and mayhem and assassinations and craziest stuff in the world. But it's so realistic. It's like these kids do it 8 hours a day. And if they weren't regulated, and that's why I'm going to let you talk about Cameron, your son. Some kids don't have any regulations. They're doing it every day, all day long. And I shouldn't just say kids because they were grown-ups who were doing it. They're immersed in fantasy.
Right. You know, what he was telling me, yes, I asked him about it, and he said, because he'll say the things that he grew up with are antiquated compared to what they have today. He said that stuff is totally different. Maybe the same characters, but now they really are in outer space, so to speak. But the big danger is that there's a dopamine rush, dopamine being kind of a pleasure center of the brain, and these games stimulate that. And not all of them, though. He said the ones particularly on your mobile devices, on your phones, those are the ones that can hook you and make you kind of a brain dead person that's active. But more complicated games are actually okay. They actually build the brain. They're not all bad. Some that build the brain where you're making things as opposed to just blowing stuff up.
I wasn't saying the games were the bad games are bad, the good games are good, but you're not in it 10 hours a day, not using your body, not meeting people, not socializing, not going outside and feeling the fresh air. You're inside becoming non-social, You're starting to believe in fiction. And I'm going to tell you, these kids who are shooting all these people, they pull triggers thousands of times a day, thousands and thousands. When the first time I saw a gun, I was scared to death. I saw it in Central Park. This kid grabbed me and said, "Hey, man, you want to see something?" I swear to God, I almost shit on myself. But point being, they're not scared of any of that anymore. They see war on TV every single day.
Yeah. The first time I saw a gun, it was pointed at me by a by a neighborhood patrol security officer. For different reasons.
Well, I had almost the same.
It was basically a Trayvon Martin thing, as with two other people. We were dressed in coat and tie.
Oh my goodness!
Come from school, What are you doing here? That's another story.
But you know what's bad about this video gaming now? We just read and talked about they're starting to do it for money now. I'm not talking about the professionals in Las Vegas. I'm talking about gaming online. Now you're going to be fighting for money. 2 kids with credit cards. Somebody's going to have to pay for something. And now you were talking about a dual addiction of video gaming and gambling.
Yeah, and I think there's a way and they'll be able to do it and get it in the form of cryptocurrencies, which is really, really crazy. I don't know if that's sustainable, but I guess you do certain things and you make a character, a cool character. And if people think it's cool enough, you can make that an NFT, a non-fungible token, and folks may buy it from you. And there's supposedly people making money doing that right now, particularly in the Philippines and Ghana, where they can make as much, basically as minimum wage, or might exceed the minimum wage a little bit. From what I know, I don't think it's sustainable. But again, you're exporting fantasy in the third world, and maybe they want the fantasy.
Well, of course they do. Everybody wants to be happy, Dr. Paul. Remember that?
If they want to be happy, if they can make a couple dollars doing it, they're in Southern. I don't think it's.
But I'm saying the games themselves. Everybody wants that dopamine rush. Like I was telling you, the 4D. Do you realize in 200 years, the virtual reality will be so real you can go on vacation, won't have to leave your house. Right. I don't know if you ever saw that movie by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Total Recall.
Total Recall, yes.
Where you went on vacation, you went to an office and then went on vacation for a week.
Yes.
Yeah. So remember Dick Tracy? I bet you they didn't think they'd have an Apple Watch now.
Yeah. He was ahead of his time in 1962 when I saw
Well, guess what happened in our town? They just retired the last telephone. The last public telephone has now, in Midtown Manhattan, has now gone into a museum. I don't know the last time I've used the public telephone. It's one of the most incredible things in the world, the transformation from probably one of the most important things on the street to actually zero. And they're going to replace them all with city Wi-Fi and plugins and all those things. But do you know what the future is going to hold? And we read about this, so I'm not just imagining this. Identifications, you won't need your credit card anymore. When I go to the airport, I'm in this thing called Clear. So Katrina and I go to the airport, we look into a machine, our faces come up, and we are cleared to go. No more ID, no more anything. Well, soon you're going to be able to pass your hand over a counter in a bodega. You're going to be able to do it in Kroger. And there's no more transactions. Okay. You are the transaction.
In a bodega.
Hope people don't start cutting off people's hands and pulling out their eyeballs. But sooner or later, that's all you're going to need. You're going to look into a gas pump. You're going to tell it how much you want. And if you have the money, it'll pump it.
Good. Now, for newer listeners and maybe new people looking at us, you might want to explain what is a bodega. I can go to a bodega.
That's a New York supermarket on the corner. So it's one of those stores that sells cigarettes for probably $1 a piece now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it's $1 a piece now. Just to have a little thing of cigarettes, single cigarettes, $1 a piece. So it's the neighborhood store is a bodega. Actually, I used a term that we didn't use because we use corner store.
Corner store. They're usually on the corner. They're on the corner.
Well, could you do me a favor and tell me about this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful lady in the Coast Guard I believe she just got appointed something. She broke a glass ceiling. Tell me about this.
Yes, Admiral Linda Fagan. She is the new commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard. So she's in charge of that service. It's not in the Pentagon. The Coast Guard is not a warfighting unit. I mean, they've got.
It's the only one that doesn't.
They rescue.
They rescue.
They rescue
And you know,
primarily.
Little Drew was recruited by the Coast Guard Academy for basketball, and I wanted him so much to go in. I think if I had to do it again, I would have went to the Coast Guard to learn how to fly. They're the opposite of Marines. Let me just put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, our daughter was recruited by the Coast Guard too to play basketball. It's interesting. I didn't know that.
How about that?
Small world. But yeah, she took over, I guess, recently. She's been in for over 40 years. She's a 4-star admiral, which is typical for a chief of staff. And I didn't know a whole lot about the Coast Guard, but she served on a number of ships. She was on an icebreaker, been to Antarctica, some very demanding things. You don't realize that the Coast Guard they're not just, off Long Island. They're all over the place. They're in the Pacific. They're in, Alaska and saving people in far-flung places.
Well, one good thing about the Coast Guard is if you get stationed with the Coast Guard, you're on the beach somewhere. You're next to water somewhere. Hopefully not Alaska, but maybe Hawaii.
I always thought a cool place to be in the Coast Guard was San Francisco, because where we parked the airplanes, at least where FedEx was, where the ramp was, when you're coming out from it was one of the parking spots years ago before they had their own building, but you're right next to a Coast Guard station at San Francisco, and you'd see the orange helicopters, and it was cool. I thought that was a cool place to be. You would never know it was there unless you taxied by it.
Well, Admiral Fagan, she went through a hell of a lot in the military as a woman, especially 40 years ago, to get to be the number one woman in the military. But speaking about women in the military, we have a special wingman wow, what a wingman we have. And I happen to know this wingman that you're going to tell us about. And I knew her when she was a little girl. And I could not be prouder of this wingman than I am of the person you're about to tell us about. Tell us about the wingman of the week.
Yeah, well, this time this wingman is a woman, and she's our daughter. And just talked to her last night, and she's actually kind of a wingman to the United States because she's in the Air Force serving the country.
What's her name?
Her name is Camille. And she started out as a maintenance officer after she came out of the Air Force Academy, and she played basketball there quite well. And she spent time as a maintenance officer and deployed to Afghanistan. And so far, her career has taken her all over the place. She's working. She's done so many things. People say, what did she do exactly? After the maintenance thing, I really wasn't sure. So I basically had to ask her. Then she became a program manager for the AWACS. Working on different kinds of equipment that go into. And the AWACS is the Air Force intelligence gathering airplane, like the Navy E2.
Yes, I know.
It's basically, they can coordinate a lot of stuff, and everything they have in there is important. They're NATO things. So something about NATO countries is that there's a commonality in terms of some of the equipment that they have. Some of it's the same. Some things that they exchange, and some things will stay in NATO. Getting off subject a little bit when they're talking about sending all these different planes to the Ukraine, giving them this, that. Legally, they can't quite do that. They can't just kind of give them anything without them being in NATO. And some things are not compatible. But anyway, she was doing that for a while, and then she was in something called the SES. I said, "What is that?" Don't tell me if it's super secret. But basically, as an assistant, she was like the XO to someone who's essentially the equivalent of a general. This is some of what she does. There's a military and a civilian interface. It's direct.
Well, really, you know what, Paul? I want you to talk about her really being a wingman and not what she does at the airport.
Okay.
She represents your family how she's been behind you and has supported you guys and really has just done the Thompson name so well.
Yeah.
That's the wingman that this young lady is.
That's true.
And I know her from a very little girl.
And that's an example of, I think you were saying earlier, of someone being an asset and not a liability. Someone who's doing good things and trying to move up in the world and taking, what she learned and applying it to her life. Something she told me early on, some years ago, she's been around for a while, was that she kind of appreciated some aspects of how she came up, because as she became an officer in charge of people, sometimes they were younger people, sometimes they were older people, they're going to her for advice, which is interesting when you're a new officer and you're dealing with someone that's older than you.
Sure is.
And listening to some of their stories and realizing, she said she would just say some of their memories from home were not very pleasant. And she didn't have to tell me anymore, because I experienced the same thing. And you realize that sometimes that when you're having a bad day compared to other folks, you're having a great day. Yeah, your worst day is not, and she was kind of appreciative. So I think in the way she saw us as being wingmen to her.
Well, you definitely were. And one of the things that we don't talk about, but when you're a Black officer in the military, you were very much looked upon by younger enlisted people, older enlisted people that look up to you because they felt that they weren't able to do this in a certain way. Mm-hmm. So, that's a big responsibility on her. I want to thank all the Apple podcast people who actually gave us a review. Please watch us on YouTube. Our new and old listeners, we love you guys. wingmenshow.com. Another episode down the tubes. And you know what? I'm still praying for peace.
Yeah, pray for peace. And definitely look at us on YouTube, because we're going to have a picture of the cake. It's a great cake. You'll like the cake. Too bad you can have it. I still have a little bit downstairs. I brought some home. But it's a nice decorative thing that represents the show. So please like, share, and subscribe. Pass it on to your friends, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.